So welcome along to the last in this current series of webinars that we're doing over lunchtime on specific AT solutions around, this week's been around educational supports and how to support students in school. So today we're going to look at a program called Splash City Maths. Just be aware there is another program out there called Splash Maths, which is kind of drill software. There is a distinction. They are very different programs, and you'll see that as I go through this. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the software first of all, just so you can get an idea of what it's about and who it might be suitable for. And then we'll hopefully do a bit of a demonstration of the software. This software is able to do so much that I'm only skimming the surface of it today. Plus, we're also kind of limited by my knowledge of second level maths. So I won't be able to do complex equations on the screen for you or anything like that, but hopefully I can show you how you might go about using those features. So just to start off, oh, sorry, I'm just realizing I didn't change the title on this slide. It is actually Splash City Maths today. It's originally called Access Maths, which was designed by the ACE Centre over in the UK. For any of you familiar with the ACE Centre, they work a lot with people with physical disabilities. So this is kind of their, started with them. It's now kind of a separate company away from the ACE Centre, but it's still very strongly linked back to people who are actually working in the area of education for people with disabilities. It's a software program for Windows. It provides a framework for writing maths notations. So it's not available on iOS or for Chromebook. It does actually need a Windows-based device to work. It covers the primary and secondary kind of curriculum level, so it can support somebody from very early numeracy skills right up until high level in secondary school. Probably wouldn't cope with third level, due to kind of the complexities of maths you'd be getting into at third level, but it would safely get you through to junior cert level and possibly even kind of foundations and possibly ordinary level maths for the Leaving Cert. It's a single license of it costs 159 sterling, so it is UK based software. That will give you access to either the primary or the secondary school version, so you can choose which one you want. Or you can get an all ages license that will cover primary and secondary for 230 sterling. They also give you a free 30-day demo license as well. Mary's put the link into the chat there, I see. Thank you, Mary. And if you go to that and if you go to download, you'll see a little window appearing there, and it'll ask you to either input your code if you've bought the software, or you can input your email address if you just want to try the software. They're actually very generous with those 30-day licenses. I've got multiples of them because sometimes we're not able to tell straight away if this is going to work for a person. It is complex software, so we have to make sure we've got it in the right at the right level for the student. So what this software does that's kind of unique is that it gives the student a blank page. So it's similar to their peers who've got their maths notebooks or copybooks with the kind of grid ruled paper on it. So it can replicate that for students who physically cannot pick up a pen or have difficulty with controlling a pen. So it gives them that option of having their copybook in a similar manner to peers. A lot of other math software out there is kind of drill work, so they'll give you 10, 20, 30 kind of questions or activities on a certain element, but it's not allowing you to create your own, or not allowing the student to create their own, taking the work that's in their student books, their maths books, their mental maths or whatever work they're working through, and transferring that across and using it in an accessible format similar to a copybook. It does come with some pre-made workbooks, just to say that there is some kind of pre-made worksheets in there if you want to take a look at those, but as I say, it's not really designed for that. It's not really drill software. So it's designed, as I mentioned there, for people with physical access difficulties, but it's also useful for those with visual impairments as well, so people who might need larger numbers and notations on screen and the ability to zoom in and out of that, and I'll talk through that a little bit more. It can also be very useful for students with dyscalculia or dysgraphia who might find it difficult to write out numbers. They might be reversing them rather than putting them in the right order, even 3 or 4 digit figures, so in your hundreds and thousands they might transpose certain numbers, and hence they end up with the wrong solution at the end because they've done that. It has an access wizard at the start to help you set up. So it has options there for people who will be pointer users. So whether that's a mouse, a touch screen, joystick, for example. It has options for people who are purely going to be keyboard users. So that's kind of nice if you're using a physical keyboard, or if you're using software that allows you to emulate keyboard shortcuts. So like the Grid 3, for example. So you can start creating your own grids to go with this and give direct access to certain features. And it also has specific settings there for eye gaze users as well, where the icons on screen are that slight bit larger. So it's easier to target with eye gaze. So really useful. They're really kind of across the whole gamut there, not directly with switches, but can be done through, say, third-party software. You have easily accessed teacher settings. So you can have a teacher profile where you're setting up work for students. But if you're working one-to-one with a student and you realize, oh, I need to change this activity, this is a too high, too low a level, or I haven't given this student the tool that they need to do this activity, you can very quickly switch into teachers mode and then come back straight into user mode or into the student mode. You can set up profiles for different students, so this can be useful as a shared piece of software if you're using it across a class or across a number of students. And you can share worksheets. So you as a teacher might be developing these worksheets, but you can give them to each student separately and they can work on them then in their own time. It's not a shared document in that they're all working on the one worksheet. They each have their own variation of it. It can also be used for things like painting, graphing, more complex maths equations. We'll be coming back to that when we go to the demonstration of it. And the newest version comes with an exam mode. Now, this exam mode has not yet been accepted by the Department of Ed, to the fullness of my knowledge anyway. But it kind of takes away certain features of the software so that you're left with just the tools to write out the maths. So it'll take away things like automatically calculating answers and things like that. It will just give you the tools that you need to complete the activity. So as I say, that hasn't been accepted by the Department of Ed over here as far as I know yet. I'm not sure about the case in the UK, but even for school exams, it can be quite a nice one to know about. So as I mentioned, it's really designed for those with physical disabilities, be they very severe physical disabilities, which results in people using alternative pointers or eye gaze, but it can also be very useful for people with milder physical disabilities like dyspraxia, that organisation piece, and helping them kind of organise and keep their work neat and in a linear fashion, particularly certain maths operations. You do need things to be very linear, so you're lining up your your units, tens and hundreds across the screen. As I say, it can be used for people with visual disabilities and also those with specific learning difficulties like dyscalculia. So I'm going to hop over into a demonstration now. Just going to talk about how to set files in this very briefly, and how you can use that wizard to create the best options for the student that you're working with. We're going to then use the software to write maths equations. So we're going to look at number lines and number squares. So very kind of primary school entry numeracy activity, right up then to doing things like writing out maths equations in a linear, so left to right, as well as a top down format. And that will also look at things like being able to carry or borrow numbers and how a student might note those on screen. We'll talk very briefly about more maths, complex maths equations. That's due to my lack of knowledge in that area, I'm going to be quite honest. And then also look very briefly at drawing shapes, measuring angles. There's also features in there around using clocks. So for example, the first and second class curriculum looks at things like being able to read the clock. So can we do that for these students? And very briefly then using the software for drawing. So I'm just going to change over now and share my screen. Hopefully that's sharing for everybody.
Yeah, sharing.
Perfect, thanks, Mary. So when you open up the software, this is what you see. You might have different icons up here depending on if somebody else is using the software. So the screen at the beginning has quite large tiles here, so people can find their user very quickly and easily. You can go and set up new users and create their settings. There's two ways. You can either go in through the options menu and into edit mode, or over here on the right hand side you can see there's a little orange arrow that's pointing left, and this will open up this kind of menu. This will allow you to do things like changing pictures. So if I select a previously made one, it will allow me to change the name on that person, change their pictures, export it, and things like that. But for right now, I just want to show you this add a new user. So I just clicked on that there and it brings up a window. So here I can enter the name of a student. So for example, I'm going to make up a student called Kyle. And he is going to be using the junior version, lower end of primary school version of this. I can change my picture, so I can go off and find a picture. I don't think I have any pictures on this that are suitable, so I won't do that right now. And I can press OK here. So this then brings me straight into this configuration wizard around access. So I'm just going to click next here. So it's asking me how is this person going to use Splash Maths. So you can see there it might be somebody who's using the pointer and the keyboard, somebody who's a keyboard user.
Thank you. Yeah, I am. No, I'm on it. Thank you.
Sorry, a bit of noise there in the background. It could be somebody who's primarily a pointer user or somebody who's an eye gaze user. So as I click on these various ones, it will give me a little explanation over here about why you might choose that particular one. So for example, for eye gaze, you do need to have an eye gaze camera and Windows Control either inbuilt in the Windows in use, or you could use third-party software like the Grid or something similar. I'm just going to stick with primarily a pointer user today, just for demonstration purposes, so you can see this. I'm going to click next here. It's asking me here about extra things that could help make this program more useful. For example, here, tick this box to disable click and drag. So if somebody's has a habit of keeping their finger on the left mouse button and dragging, or when they're clicking and it results in things being dragged, you can disable that there. You can do things like if they're drawing angles and stuff like that, that you can set the increments that the angles will be drawn at to help them kind of be more accurate in their work. You can tick this to increase the size of buttons at the top of the screen. So you can kind of see there's a lot of different options here. If somebody has a visual impairment, it will make things larger, bold boundary around selected tools, and the grab handles for resizing won't be displayed, just to let you know that. So I don't have a visual impairment, so I'm going to leave that one off today. And then it's giving you your access wizard is complete. So I'm going to click finish there. So now if I go back here, this is Kyle's homepage. If I want to go back to the full screen, there it is, and I can simply click into Kyle's profile as well. It's already pre-populated this with some things that are generally considered appropriate for that younger age group. So we're going to look at a couple of things here today. First of all, I'm just going to go and look at this number square because it's kind of a separate piece, and then we'll hop into numbers there. So just looking at this number square, this is what most students have sellotaped on their desk in kind of senior infants first class, possibly second class. And you can see here, it's just given me a number square. I can click or use my touch screen to select different things. So for example, if I was clicking on 36 and I had count on 3, I can use this little icon up here in the top right to physically move on the pointer 3. So 1, 2, 3, and that might be my answer, so I can highlight that in green now. So this is something that students, we often find students with physical disabilities don't have the ability to manipulate physical items like the little blocks that they use for adding and adding on. So this is giving them a way up here. They're physically manipulating the menu up here. So that can help establish and help generalize those. Yes?
Sorry, Julianne. Can you share, because we're seeing a black screen at the moment here.
Oh, I'm so
on
sorry.
Our end.
I'm so sorry. I'm sharing my screen now rather than sharing the program, so hopefully this is a bit better.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, sorry, when did you lose visual? Have you seen the number square what I was talking about there? Sorry. As I was saying, you can use this, sorry, there's a little, these are called palettes over here on the right hand side. So as you click on a number, for example, we could click on 35, and if we said 2 less than 35, we can use the arrow going backwards, 1, 2, and there we arrive at our answer, and we can use the green in the middle to select that. So it's helping, as I say, giving manipulatives to students. Again, you can do your counting in tens by using the downward arrows and move around the screen. So I think it's a nice way of, rather than an SNA kind of pointing or just kind of watching appear, they can actually get involved with this and actually work through the manipulatives themselves. So that was kind of the number square, and it's not allowing me to go back there. You also then, if we go into numbers here, this is kind of where the majority of what I'm going to show you today will be within here. So as you can see here, we've got a very simple interface in this one where we can do a certain amount of input. So as I say, this is designed for a younger student in primary school, which I'll show you a more complex page setup in a while. Under page up here, under page and edit background, I think it was, you can choose what type of paper you want. You can have it without any lines, you can have simple ruled lines, you can have that squared copybook look. I have no idea why you might need isometric page sets, but they're there, or graph paper, but it's there. Sorry, the graph paper, sorry, it has a thicker green line every 5 squares, I think it is, so that's where that comes in. You can choose the size of the grid here, so if you've got somebody who needs things to be bigger, you can choose to have them bigger there, so you can kind of see it's much bigger squares there. And you can choose the grid color. At the moment it's in a pale green. A lot of the copybooks are done in blue, so you might want to replicate that for the student, or if there's a visual element to them, they might want to maybe have different colors there for high contrast. I'm just going to click cancel on that and just going back here. One other thing, sorry, I meant to show you on this is, where is it in this one? So under edit settings for this user. Yes, sorry, we're into settings here for the individual users, and there's a few different things in here that I just wanted to show you, and I'm trying to remember where the one I want to show you is. And I won't be able to find it now when I'm looking for it. So you can kind of see, you can change some of the stuff that came up in the wizard here. You can change what options are available in the toolbars over here and the order in which they appear. Shape and number settings, this is where I want to be. Yes, up here at the very top, only 1 digit can be entered into each cell using the numbers tool. So this I'm going to turn on. Otherwise, it might try to put 2 numbers in each cell, and that's not really the way they do it in primary school. They want 1 cell or 1 number in each cell. So I'm just going to bring up my numbers here, so you can see them over here on the left-hand side, and it brings up my numbers palette on the right-hand side. So I can use this now to start building, and it's automatically set that. Oh, sorry, no, it's not automatically set. You can set it automatically that will move to the next cell after something's been inputted, but I can also use the arrows here. So 5 plus 2, plus 2, and then you can go across equals. So you can set up the maths sum similar to the way peers are writing it, 1 number and 1 maths notation per cell. And you can fill in your answer. So this is not being corrected. So this is going to give a true reflection of the student's ability. So they can get it right or they might get it wrong. Just to give you another example, you can also, as I say, you can use it for those linear maths, but you can also use it for top-down maths. So for example, if we had a sum where we're going to be doing some subtraction. So we've got 75, and I'm going to go down one, minus 38. And I can actually draw a line in under this if I wanted to set it up the way, again, students do it in their copybooks. Just, oh, sorry, stop. Go back to my numbers then, and I can click into my cells here. So, going back to teacher mode here, which not a teacher. So 8 from 5, that's something that doesn't happen straight away. So in this case, you might need to borrow from your tens column. So I can click on the 7 over here. You'll notice at the bottom here it is trying to help me out, but just to say, you'll also see the notation here. So it will cross out the 7 for me, but it's not giving me the answer. I have to physically go up and choose the 6, which will then replace that little question mark. So I've borrowed there, I go across here and I can add in my 1 there. So you can do these, you can show your workings, for want of a better phrase here, and then you can come down here and do your solution. So really nice way to show how they get to their answer, that it's not somebody else prompting them, they are physically doing this work themselves. So you can kind of see there, it will give you the options to do lots of these kind of computations. Just while I'm in this, I do want to show you number lines as well. So there's a number line option here. So I can draw a number line. You can see it's numbering it for me. And at the moment, it's looking at addition. So if I'm at 4, why aren't you moving for me? No, you're not working for me. Why are you not working? Yeah, there we go. We're at 4. And I'm saying I need to add 2 to 4. I simply press on this green button up here. So again, I'm physically doing something. 1, 2. And there is my answer. And I now know my answer is 6 if I'm adding 2. If I want to do subtraction, I can do it here. You can now see this has gone red. The arrow here has gone red. If I'm taking 3 from 6, I hit the minus button up here 3 times. 1, 2. Sorry. Why aren't you working? Oh, sorry. 1, 2, 3. So you can see now my answer is 3. So again, giving the student the ability to manipulate something, even though it's not a physical object. You also have options there. I won't go into all of these. To write text if you want to. So you can simply type in. Oh, sorry. There we go. Done. So if it's teacher correcting it, you can do this part. You also have things like tallying. So if you're doing counting, so again, you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you can do your siders 1 to match off that bunch. If you make a mistake, you can kind of just go back using the arrow there. So a very nice way of working through those. Anything else I want to mention on this one? No, I think that's this for here. Every time you go to move out of this, it will prompt you about saving it. I'm not going to save my documents today, but it's quite a nice tool. You also have the ability up there to save it physically yourself or print it out as well. I'm just going to go now into the secondary school profile just to show you some of the other options in here. If I go into simple equations here, you can kind of see, sorry, I'm going to move this. I'm getting a lot more items in the palette over here. It's given me the options to, it's given me the option up here to choose what sort of pages I want and things like that. So if I have a new, it's not giving me the option up there. It should give me the option up there about, oh, no, it's not. I'll have to go in and create my ruled page. Sorry, apologies for this. I thought it was in this one. So there's a couple of things up here I just want to bring your attention to. They have this snap to grid option. So for example, if you're drawing shapes or anything like that, it will snap it to the grid line. Sorry, if I do a line here. So even though I'm kind of trying to do it in the middle of a square, it's not allowing me to do that. It's kind of snapping to the grid lines. So for those students who might find control difficult, that's quite a nice one. You also have the option there to snap to existing shapes if you're kind of drawing something, and if you're doing angles that you're measuring, the angles at 15-degree intervals. Sorry, that's what I wanted to say there. Actually, I'm going to go back into the maths equations here, just this one. Where's all my things gone? They're not coming up here. But you can see over here we've got the notations for, why aren't you writing in here? No, hold on. No, why aren't you working? No, it's not coming on. I think I've got this set up to be keyboard or something, user. Apologies for that. But the other thing I wanted to show you here is if you wanted to add new functions to a person's profile. I'm just in this person's profile at the moment. I'm going up to options and I'm going into edit mode. So here it's allowing me to look and see what other things I can add to this person's profile. So the worksheets I'll come back to in a second. If you have files in your disk, you can also use those. If you have other activities you want to add, you can add them in here. So for example, you've got painting, geometric drawings and things like that. If you wanted to go and introduce some of the simpler maths stuff as well, you can add them in simply by clicking on them and clicking add to page. And if you want to get rid of something, then you simply click on the icon and the little option there will get rid of it. You can also add links to external programs that will launch that program. So for example, if somebody wants to go back into their Grid 3, you can add in a setting there. Just going to go into painting very briefly. Sorry, I realize I'm already going over time. Painting and drawing will give you access to some of these items here. So you can kind of see the ability to draw in options. So I've clicked on the square. So it's given me a square there. So I only had to draw the first line, and then it automatically knew that the rest of the lines were going to be the same shape. If, for example, if I go for a rectangle, I will have to do 2 lines to it in order for that to come up. I can then, oh, sorry, I should be able to move these and it's not allowing me. Click on. You can do things like filling internal objects or where they're overlapping in different colors. Sorry, when you've drawn something and you're in the middle of something and you realize it's not where you are, you just simply right click and it will remove it for you. You have options here around doing things like using a compass to draw a circle, and that, for example, there, if you're doing this on squared paper, you might be drawing a circle with a radius or a diameter, and you can set that according to what you need as well. I'm not going to save any of these. I just wanted to simply show you a couple of other things. Just going into the worksheets here, some of these, as I say, are pre-printed. They have some chemistry and physics ones here. So for example, if I go into chemistry, you can see that, sorry, I should have gone into physics, so I've got a better chance of doing that. Oh, it's not allowing me to open that one. If I go back there, I'll open one of the maths ones. These are pre-made worksheets. So for example, if I go into fractions and decimals here, it's given me some pre-made worksheets that I can open up in the software. It's not opening these for some reason. Sorry, I did open one of the ones in the junior one earlier on, so I know that one's working. So for example, here, put ladybirds on the leaves to match each number. So this is kind of a worksheet. So
ladybird.
You can put them in. And so on and so forth. So it's really nice, some of these pre-made worksheets. Again, this isn't software that's correcting you. It's just simply giving you the ability to do the work. So it won't automatically tell you that's correct or that's not correct. As I say, there's also easier painting options here as well for younger students. So for example, they might just want to scribble with crayons, or maybe use paintbrush, and you can choose the colors and design. You also have the ability to introduce picture stamps. So for example, if you're doing something around Christmas or Halloween, you've got stamps you can just bring in and use. So for example, if I want to use the pumpkin, I can pop that again using my right click to stop.
Picture stamp.
And then I'm why aren't you stopping?
Picture stamp.
Cancel.
Picture stamp.
It's not allowing me to for some reason, but you can resize the pictures there as well. Sorry, I've gone over again. I really do apologize, but hopefully that's given you a little bit of a flavour of what the software can do. And I'm just going to go back to the presentation for a second. Hopefully it's coming up now.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
It's up now, yeah, thanks.
Just wanted to mention some alternatives out there. For example, Choose It Maker is a really good option for somebody at the early numeracy level, where you can use Choose It Maker or Choose It Maker ready-mades. They are kind of a set of pre-made numeracy activities, but you can also create your own using Choose It Maker. That would be your simple counting, number recognition, that kind of level. For somebody moving up the way, then you have things like the Maths plugins for Microsoft Word and OneNote. You've got options like Equatio, which is a web browser-based option about writing equations. GeoGebra, as the name kind of suggests, is around geometry and algebra, so you can kind of see that again. That's can be web-based, but you can also download a version as well. I did want to mention in particular Call Scotland's app wheel of apps compatible with iOS that are maths related. They've got a fantastic resource there where they have categorized loads of maths-based apps into different categories according to like whether it's early numeracy, is it a talking calculator, is it to work on manipulatives, all these kind of elements. A really good one to know about. Some of them are free, some of them are paid for, but it's a really good option. They also have a similar one for literacy supports, so around dyslexia and written language. And as I said, this program is really useful at kind of primary and secondary level. Once people get into more complex maths, you might need to start looking at higher level programs like MathType, Wolfram Mathematica. Third level colleges use LaTeX based programs and stuff like that. Again, this is kind of beyond my wheelhouse, so I can point you in the right direction, but I wouldn't be the best person to talk to you about those options. But all of them would be compatible with things like eye gaze or directly using mouse pointers or touch screens. Thank you very much, and apologies again for going over time. If there's any questions, I'm just going to stop the recording.